G'day, g'day. Well, a new segment in our four-wheel drive section is called Show Me Your Truck. I want to see your truck, warts and all, good and bad. But to kick the segment off, I thought I'd show you mine. Now, it started out as a 1993 Toyota Land Cruiser 80 Series station wagon. Had a bit of rust in the back end, so I decided to cut that out. Well, I kept cutting and ended up with a ute. Now, whilst I don't mean to, sometimes I get myself in a pickle. So I put on a fairly decent winch and some really good quality high-tech rope. 10 times better than that steel cable stuff. Because I travel a lot of outback country roads and sometimes at night, I wanted good lighting. I started out by replacing the factory headlights with HID inserts. I then went over to put some driving lights on. These are HID LED, the best in the business. They are absolutely brilliant, draw very little current, and they will light up for kilometres, if I could see that far. One of the important things I wanted to add to my truck was some decent suspension. I spend a lot of time up in the Cape and those corrugations will kill you. Not only did I give it 2 inches of lift and high quality shock absorbers with longer travel, but I also put some poly airbags inside the springs. They allow me to jack the back end up if I'm towing a heavier boat. I also wanted to put on an AirTech snorkel, not because I do any water crossings, I'm very much against it, but because when you're on dirt roads, it's much better to suck clean air from up here than down in amongst the dust. There's quite a bit of electronics in here. I'll run through some of it for you. There's a 240 volt outlet on the outside. That gives me power to this power point here. I've also got an inverter installed, which gives me 240 volts here from the battery. The deep cycle battery also runs the fridge and a few other accessories and LED lighting in the canopy here. I've also got the ability to monitor voltage and amps and isolation switches as well. How good's that fridge? I turned her up flat out to get this cool in a hurry. It's frozen solid in a couple of hours. Now, because I'm a licensed ham radio operator, I've got a Yaesu HF transceiver. That allows me communication no matter how remote I am. One thing I learned a long time ago, don't rely on your mobile phone. I also carry an AM/FM radio that monitors VHF and a UHF radio in the back of the truck as well as in the front of the truck. This UHF radio also has scanning abilities to scan a few other frequencies as well. Now, I can tell you, when you're out in the scrub on your own, it's very nice to have something to listen to or some company to talk to. Now, behind this rear hatch is my complete kitchen. There's enough stuff in here to keep even an old fat fella like me from going hungry. This is my stove. I keep it ocky strapped down to stop it bouncing around. It's patched through to a gas bottle in the back here. All my cooking utensils and coffee, sugar, food is in here. Even got running water from a tank underneath. I've even got a basic first aid kit in case of snake bite. Underneath the truck here, I've got a 120 litre water tank. That's piped through a fine micron filter to a drinking water tap at the back. It's also piped through to a hot water system that runs off the heater at the front that allows me to have a nice hot shower. Now, quite often I find myself backing down boat ramps in the dark, particularly some little dirt back boat ramp. So I put on a decent set of floodlights connected to a relay and a switch on my dashboard. That allows me to throw these lights on when I'm reversing. Now, I also opted to put in an extra 180 litre long range tank, not so much because I needed the extra fuel capacity, but sometimes when you go away, you could fill up in one place at cheap fuel because where you're going, it's a hell of a lot more expensive. I've also put in a reversing camera that allows me to line up the boat trailer when I'm backing up to it. Also, I can see what's happening behind me when I am reversing. Now, I haven't designed the back of this to sleep in, it's for storage. Inside here, I've got lots of tubs where I carry all my little bits and pieces, keep my swag in here, and also some rifles when I go away out west. Now, my good mate Ron made this canopy for me. I asked him to paint it white. Let me give you a hint, never trust a mate. This antenna on the back here is quite unique. It's motorised and allows me to tune it by raising and lowering the coil section, so I can basically tune in any frequency from DC right through to daylight. Allows me to get contact with people just about anywhere in the world, any time of day. It's very important to have some shade when you're out in the bush, particularly in those really hot summer days. Here's a tip for you though. Make sure you put your sunshade on the same side of the truck as your esky. Saves an awful lot of walking. Now, a few people have asked me, where's your rod holders? For a beach fisherman, it's not obvious. It's important to remember that it's illegal to carry rod holders on a truck unless you've got rods in them. So what I've got is a piece of tube here. I drop my rod holders in when I'm going fishing, put the rods up over the roof.